Have you ever felt the weight of the world pressing on your shoulders, the noise of life drowning out everything you truly need to hear, the deadlines, the expectations, the worries, everything pulling you in different directions? It's easy to feel lost in the noise, isn't it? And yet, what if I told you that the key to finding peace, to unlocking healing in your heart, lies not in doing more or striving harder, but in embracing the silence? In a world that glorifies busyness, silence can feel like an uncomfortable space. We are told to keep moving, to always stay productive, to never stop chasing more. But what if everything you've been searching for isn't found in the chaos, but in the quiet moments where you're alone with your thoughts, with your heart, with God? The silence is often where the most profound healing happens. When we stop, even for a brief moment, and allow ourselves to just be, we create room for something greater to step in, something divine, something deeply restorative. In those moments of stillness, we can hear God's whisper, a whisper that promises peace, that calms the storm inside us. Silence isn't empty, it's full of possibility. It's in the silence that God meets us, where we can lay down our burdens and find rest. It's not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper, something spiritual. Imagine the moment when the world fades away and you're left with nothing but your breath, your heartbeat, and the comforting assurance that God is right there, holding you. That silence, that stillness, it is a sanctuary for the soul. When we rush through life, we miss the moments where true healing happens. We drown out the signals we need to hear because we're too busy trying to fix everything. But in that quiet space, God's presence becomes undeniable. You may not hear His voice in loud proclamations, but in the gentle whisper of peace that surrounds you. It's a peace that doesn't come from understanding the chaos of life, but from surrendering it, from trusting that, even when things don't make sense, He is right there with you. Have you ever taken a moment to pause, to let go of the noise and truly listen? It's in those moments that God speaks to you, not in grand gestures, but in simple truths that you've always known deep within. The silence is not a void. It is the most sacred space where God's healing power flows. The hardest part, though, is that we often resist silence. We fear it. We fear that if we stop, we might face the emotions or the struggles we've been avoiding. But it's precisely in those moments of stillness that we begin to heal. Healing doesn't come from running away from our problems, but from facing them with the assurance that we are not alone, that God is with us, even in the silence. And when we lean into that silence, when we trust that God is there, we find the strength to rise again. We find the courage to move forward. So, what is silence truly offering us? It offers us the space to be fully present with ourselves, to confront our fears, to embrace the love that God is offering, and to hear the gentle whispers that guide us toward peace. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the presence of God. The silence that heals is not a void of nothingness, but a sanctuary of divine presence. And it is in this sacred space that we rediscover ourselves, our purpose, and our deepest peace. When you embrace the silence, you are not stepping away from life. You are stepping into a deeper connection with the divine, a connection that sustains you through the struggles, through the storms. Trust in this silence. Trust that, in the stillness, you will find not emptiness, but everything you need to heal, to rest, and to rise again. So the next time life feels overwhelming, when the world becomes too loud, don't shy away from the silence. Embrace it. Let it heal you. Let it remind you that you don't have to carry the weight of the world alone. God is in the silence, and in that silence He will restore you. When life feels like it's falling apart, when the weight of the world seems too much to bear, it's easy to wonder why things aren't going according to plan, why the struggles don't stop, why we're faced with challenge after challenge. But what if I told you that trusting God doesn't require us to understand the struggle? In fact, it is in those very moments of confusion, of not having all the answers, that trust becomes the most powerful tool we have. Trust is not about knowing the outcome or seeing the end of the road. Trust is about choosing to believe that even when we cannot make sense of our circumstances, God's plan is still unfolding. It's in the moments when life doesn't make sense that trust becomes our anchor, grounding us in the belief that we are not alone. We don't need to understand everything. We just need to trust that God sees what we cannot, that He holds the bigger picture in His hands. When you trust in God, you stop fighting the struggle. You stop fighting the questions and the doubts. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and you begin to release your need for certainty. This trust is what brings us peace in the midst of the storm. It's not peace that comes from our own understanding or from figuring things out on our own. It's a peace that transcends our ability to comprehend. A peace that says, I don't have all the answers, but I trust that God does. It's the kind of peace that calms the restlessness in your heart, even when your circumstances are far from ideal. The battles, the disappointments, the delays, they become less overwhelming when you trust that God is in control. When you trust in His timing, you learn to embrace the journey, even when it doesn't look the way you imagined. In those moments when you're faced with uncertainty, trust is your refuge. It's the quiet assurance that, no matter how dark the path may seem, you are not walking alone. The struggle may feel impossible at times, but the promise of God's presence is unwavering. Trust allows you to move forward even when the road ahead seems unclear. Trust gives you the courage to keep going even when the path seems like it's leading you through an endless storm. It's trust that reminds you that, even though you cannot see the end, God can, and He is guiding you step by step. The strength that comes from trust is not the absence of fear, it's the presence of faith in something greater than yourself. When you trust God, you don't just endure the hardship, you are transformed by it. You grow stronger in your faith, more resilient in your spirit. You begin to see the struggle as part of a bigger purpose, not a setback. Trust doesn't remove the pain, but it shifts how you experience it. It allows you to endure with grace, to rise above the challenges, to find meaning in the mess. Trust is not passive, it is active. It is a decision to keep moving forward, even when every part of you wants to turn back. Trust is a journey, not a destination. It takes time to develop, and it grows stronger as you continue to rely on God's faithfulness. But as you learn to trust more deeply, you'll begin to notice something incredible. The things that once seemed insurmountable, the struggles that once seemed like they would break you, start to lose their power over you. Trust enables you to look at your struggles through a new lens, one where you see them not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth, for deeper connection with God, and for a deeper understanding of your own strength. You may not always feel strong, and that's okay. There are days when the weight of the world feels too heavy, and you question whether you'll ever make it through. But that's when trust becomes even more important. It's when you don't have the answers, when you feel lost and unsure, that trust is the greatest source of strength. You are not expected to have it all together. You are not expected to carry the burden on your own. Trusting God means acknowledging that you are human, that you need help, and that help comes from Him. It means allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to admit that you cannot do it all, and that's perfectly okay. When you choose to trust, you allow yourself the grace to rest in His care, knowing that the weight you carry doesn't have to be yours alone. You can release your fears, your worries, your need for control, and let God take them from you. It's in those moments of surrender that you find the peace that surpasses all understanding. And it's in those moments of surrender that you realize that God has been with you all along, waiting for you to trust Him fully. So, when life feels overwhelming, when the world seems to be spinning out of control, remember that trust in God isn't about having all the answers. It's about surrendering your need for certainty and resting in the assurance that, even in the chaos, God's plan is unfolding perfectly. It's about knowing that, no matter how lost you may feel, you are never alone. God's presence is always with you, guiding you, comforting you, and leading you toward a future that is filled with hope, purpose, and peace. Trust in God, and you'll find strength you never knew you had. When we talk about trust, we often think of it as something that builds over time, something that grows as we experience more of life. But there's another aspect of trust, one that requires surrender. True trust isn't just about believing that everything will be okay. It's about releasing the need to control every outcome, every situation, and every detail. It's about accepting that there are things beyond our understanding, beyond our ability to manipulate or change. And it's in this surrender that we find the greatest rest. Rest doesn't come from escaping our struggles, avoiding pain, or pretending that everything is fine. Rest comes when we finally let go of our need to fix everything on our own. It's when we stop fighting the process, stop forcing our own will, and allow ourselves to be carried by something bigger than ourselves. Rest is found in trusting that, even when life is messy, God is working through it all. It's about embracing the uncertainty of the journey and finding peace in knowing that we are not the ones in control of the outcome. So many of us are exhausted, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. We wear ourselves thin trying to keep everything together, trying to manage every detail, trying to figure out how to make life turn out the way we want. But in that constant striving, we miss the gift of rest that God is offering. Rest doesn't come from accomplishing more. It comes from being present with what is and trusting that, in the midst of it all, God is working. When we surrender, when we stop fighting the current, we find the peace we've been searching for all along. But surrender isn't always easy, is it? It's difficult to trust when everything around us feels uncertain. It's hard to let go when the weight of the world is pressing down on us. But that's where the real power lies. It's in letting go when we have no idea what will happen next. It's in trusting that, even though we can't see the whole picture, God can. It's in releasing our fear and allowing His peace to fill the space where anxiety used to be. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, feeling the winds howling around you, the rain pouring down in sheets. You have two choices. You can fight against the storm, struggling to control it, trying to change the conditions that are beyond your power. Or you can stand still, close your eyes, and trust that, despite the chaos, you are safe. The storm might still rage, but you can find rest knowing that you are being protected. You can rest in the certainty that God is with you, and that no matter how intense the storm gets, He is guiding you through it. This is what surrender looks like. It's not passive. It's a decision to stop fighting. It's an active choice to place your trust in something greater than your own understanding. It's a decision to let go of your need for control and to embrace the peace that comes from knowing God has a plan. Surrendering doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving it to God, trusting that He is in control, and allowing yourself the rest that only He can provide. And when you do, when you let go of the need to control and trust in God's timing, you begin to experience a peace that goes beyond your circumstances. The things that once seemed overwhelming no longer have the same power over you. The struggles don't disappear, but your perspective shifts. Instead of feeling burdened by them, you begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of feeling lost, you begin to see the hand of God leading you. Instead of feeling defeated, you start to feel empowered, knowing that you are not alone in this journey. There is a deep peace that comes with trust, a peace that doesn't come from understanding everything, but from knowing that God is in control. It's a peace that transcends all logic, all human reasoning. It's the kind of peace that lets you rest even when everything around you seems uncertain. It's a peace that reminds you that, no matter what happens, you are safe in God's care. And that peace is what allows you to rest. This rest isn't just about feeling relaxed. It's about finding wholeness in the midst of brokenness, peace in the middle of chaos. It's about embracing the uncertainty of life and trusting that God is using everything for a greater purpose. Rest is found in the acceptance of what is, not in the need to change it. When you stop fighting, when you stop striving, you open yourself up to the healing power of God. You allow His peace to flood your heart, to renew your spirit, to give you the strength to keep moving forward. In the stillness of surrender, you find the power to rise above your circumstances. You find the courage to face what seems impossible, knowing that you do not walk alone. God's presence is with you, and in that presence you find rest. Trust in that rest. Let it restore you. Let it renew your mind, your body, and your soul. Let it remind you that you are not meant to carry the weight of the world alone. When you trust God and surrender, you find the peace, the strength, and the rest that you need to keep moving forward. As we begin to trust more deeply, something incredible happens. We start to change. Trust is not just about finding rest in the midst of life's storms. It's about allowing the storms to refine us. The struggles, the challenges, the moments of doubt, they are not just obstacles. They are opportunities. Opportunities to grow, to become stronger, and to deepen our connection with God. Trust doesn't just transform our circumstances, it transforms us. When we place our trust in God, we are not just surrendering to His will, we are opening ourselves up to a greater transformation. We are allowing ourselves to be molded, shaped, and refined by His divine hand. Every challenge we face, every struggle we encounter, is a chance for God to work in us, to refine our character and grow our faith. Trusting God doesn't just mean believing that things will get better. It means believing that, no matter what happens, we will come out stronger on the other side. Trust gives us the courage to face whatever comes our way, knowing that it will not break us. We are being shaped by the very struggles that once seemed insurmountable. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that life should always be easy, that we should always be comfortable, always be happy. But the truth is, it's in the difficult moments that we find our greatest strength. The challenges we face are the very tools that God uses to build us. When we trust in Him, we allow those challenges to have purpose. We stop viewing them as threats and begin to see them as opportunities for growth. It's in the midst of hardship that our true potential is unlocked. The person you are becoming is not just a result of your triumphs, but of the times you've faced difficulty and kept going. Trusting God in the hard times means you're trusting that He is using those times to refine you. You're allowing Him to shape your character, to build your resilience, and to grow your faith. The struggles that once seemed like barriers are now stepping stones, each one helping you rise higher. As you trust God more, you begin to realize that the growth doesn't just happen in the easy moments. It happens in the moments when you feel at your weakest. It happens when you don't know how you'll make it through, but you trust anyway. You trust because you know that He is refining you, even when it doesn't feel like it. Even when you don't understand the process, you trust that God is working in you, molding you into the person you're meant to be. Every trial, every obstacle is part of the process of becoming who God has created you to be. It's not easy and it doesn't happen overnight, but with each step of trust, you are becoming more aligned with your purpose. You are becoming stronger, more resilient, more equipped to handle whatever life throws your way. Trusting in God is not a passive act. It's an active participation in your own transformation. It's choosing to believe that even when you don't see the full picture, He is working behind the scenes, shaping you into something greater. When you allow trust to guide you, you begin to see life through a different lens. You stop seeing struggles as setbacks and start seeing them as part of the greater plan. You stop fighting against the current and start trusting that, even in the midst of the storm, God is leading you exactly where you need to go. The peace that comes with trust isn't just about the absence of hardship. It's about the confidence that no matter what happens, God is with you, guiding you and refining you. And this transformation doesn't just happen on the surface level. It happens deep within you, where your beliefs are formed, where your strength is rooted, and where your purpose is anchored. Trusting God transforms your very heart, mind, and soul. It allows you to see the beauty in the struggle, the purpose in the pain. It gives you the strength to rise above your circumstances, not because your circumstances change, but because your heart changes. Your faith deepens, your trust grows, and as you trust, you become more resilient, more capable of facing whatever comes next. So, trust is not just about finding rest or peace in the midst of struggle. It's about allowing the struggle to shape you, to transform you, to make you into the person you were always meant to be. Trusting God doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. And when you change, you become a living testimony to the power of faith and trust in God. You become a living example of the strength, peace, and hope that comes when you trust Him with every part of your life. When you trust, you open the door to transformation. You allow God to work in you in ways you never imagined. And as you continue to trust Him, you'll find that the person you're becoming is far stronger, far more capable, and far more at peace than the person you were before. Trust doesn't just give you the strength to survive the storm. It transforms you into someone who can thrive in the storm. And that is the power of trust. Trust in God, trust in His timing, trust in His plan. It changes everything. As trust continues to transform us, we begin to realize something even deeper. This trust isn't just for the struggles. It's for the whole journey. The peace and strength we find in surrendering to God aren't just for moments of hardship. They are tools that sustain us through every season of life. When we trust God with the storm, we also learn to trust Him with the calm. Trust isn't meant to be reserved only for times of crisis, but rather a constant, underlying foundation that holds us steady no matter what life brings. Many of us wait for the storms to pass before we embrace trust. We think that once everything is calm, once the chaos subsides, then we can rest. But true peace, the kind that sustains us in every season, comes when we trust through the highs and the lows, the easy and the hard. It's not about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about trusting that, in every moment, God is with us, guiding us and helping us grow. When we stop waiting for the perfect moment to trust and embrace God fully right where we are, we open ourselves up to an entirely new way of living. This trust isn't just a reaction to hardship. It's a lifestyle. It becomes the lens through which we view everything: our relationships, our work, our purpose. Trusting God means letting go of the need for everything to be in perfect order and allowing ourselves to move forward with faith, knowing that He is walking beside us in every moment. Think about it: when you trust someone deeply, it changes the way you relate to them. You don't hold back. You allow yourself to be fully vulnerable, knowing they will catch you if you fall. In the same way, when we trust God, we stop holding parts of ourselves back. We stop trying to control and manipulate every situation, and instead, we fully surrender to the process. This kind of trust isn't passive. It's an active, powerful force that shapes every part of our lives. This is where the real transformation happens. It's not just in the big moments of surrender, but in the everyday moments of trust. It's in the small choices we make each day to trust that God's plan is unfolding, even when we can't see it. Trust becomes an ongoing decision, one that we make every single day. And every time we choose trust, we grow stronger in our faith, deeper in our peace, and more aligned with God's purpose for our lives. But here's the truth: trust doesn't come without vulnerability. It requires us to open ourselves up, to lay down our need for control, and to accept the unknown. It asks us to step into the mystery of God's plan, knowing that, while we may not have all the answers, He does. This vulnerability can be uncomfortable. It can feel risky, but it's in this vulnerability that we discover the greatest strength. Because the more we trust, the more we realize that true strength isn't found in our ability to control everything. It's found in our willingness to surrender to something greater than ourselves. And it's in this surrender that we discover the beauty of faith. Trust isn't just about believing that God will take care of us. It's about knowing that He already is. Faith isn't a wishful hope that things will turn out the way we want them to. It's a confident assurance that, no matter what happens, God's plan is always for our good. When we trust Him fully, we no longer need to carry the burden of uncertainty. We let go of the what-ifs and replace them with the assurance of His love, His purpose, and His timing. This is where the real peace comes from. It's not about waiting for everything to be perfect or trying to make everything fit into our own understanding. It's about trusting that, no matter what the outcome looks like, God's peace will carry us through. It's about finding rest in the certainty that He is in control, and when we rest in that certainty, we stop fighting against life. We stop resisting the flow of the journey, and instead, we move forward with confidence, knowing that we are exactly where we need to be. Every moment of trust, every act of surrender, brings us closer to the life we are meant to live. It's not about achieving perfection or having all the answers. It's about trusting God through every season, every trial, and every joy. Trust becomes the foundation upon which we build our lives, and it's in this foundation that we find true peace. Not a fleeting peace that comes from temporary circumstances, but a deep, unshakable peace that transcends every situation. The more we trust, the more we are able to live in alignment with our true purpose. The more we surrender, the more we become who God created us to be. Trust isn't just a feeling, it's a lifestyle. It's the courage to keep moving forward, even when we don't have all the answers. It's the strength to face whatever comes our way, knowing that we are never alone. When we trust in God, we find the peace that only He can give, the peace that carries us through every storm and every calm, the peace that gives us the strength to rise again, no matter what life throws our way. So, let go of the need to control and allow God to lead you. Embrace the peace that comes from trusting in His plan. Trust that, no matter what happens, you are exactly where you need to be. And with each step, each choice to trust, you'll find that God is shaping you into the person you were always meant to be, a person of peace, a person of strength, a person who knows that, with God by your side, you are unstoppable.